Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month.
I come along, you know. I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear anything. I would not want to.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome, everybody, to AEW Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling. You got your crew here. You got Crayfish. You got Bonds. SPD is joining us.
I am here. I'm here, but the camera for some reason is glitching. But I am here via audio.
Well, we know when you're talking because it makes a little thing on the screen when you talk, so at least we know you're kind of there.
Well,
Right.
that's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Hopefully the virtual part of it all gets worked out, SPD. But, the show must go on, as we learned tonight. My goodness, AEW is just going balls to the wall to all out, guys. There's nothing that can stop this company.
CM Punk's here.
The plans that this company has for us this weekend, we can't wait to be there.
I know.
What
Here's
a
most of the
show
card,
for this card.
but not all
My
of it.
Goodness.
This is most of the card we got. Obviously the main event was not on there, but yes, was it ever a Dynamite show? So much jam packed in there, and it is just. I wish we were there tonight, but we will be there on Fridays, kicking things off. And wow, but
The people who were there tonight got to see, some matches that we've been just dreaming to have. First and foremost, to start the show with FTR versus Santana Ortiz, guys. I mean, I know that we're all plugged in on social media and we're always trying to network with people out there and talk to fellow fans. But I literally had to just put my phone down, threw it on the charger, and just sat back and watched an absolute masterpiece take place before me. Guys, you know that I love myself some tag team wrestling, Bonds. That's my bread and butter, man. And this was another example of how great storytelling can be amplified when you have four guys who are phenomenal at what they do, interacting with each other. I mean, this was fantastic. From the moment this one, the bell rang, I knew we were in for a treat.
There's some matches, man, when you know they're going to start, they're going to be perfect. These guys are probably my two favorite personal tag teams in AEW. So watching them just go like that was just such a blast. There we go. SPD's back. I don't know if we can hear you though.
yes, I'm here.
Right.
Check 1,
Yes,
2, 1, 2.
there we
Okay.
go.
Bonds,
Perfect.
get your point. There you go. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
Thank you,
No,
guys.
you're good,
for
bro.
your patience.
I just think that when you have teams that are this talented in the ring and they are telling such a story that's long-term, like they've been telling, this is going back months, this feud. And in the ring, obviously they sold Cash's injury
Big time.
like crazy tonight. And, that was a factor.
It was.
And I like that it was
absolutely
important and it felt important and they've been selling it as important. And we don't really know what's next for FTR now because they've been making some weird hints on social media and some promos. And obviously we hope they're still going to be in AEW, but they might be setting up something new and going in a different direction storyline wise. And I'm all for that. I like to see them do some new stuff. And if this is the last match we get to see of the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle mesh up between those two guys, I'm okay with it. Just because they've done such a good job selling that story to me personally.
I mean, this was the match that we deserved and wanted. Both teams were fire up, pure wrestling. I mean, I totally agree, with the commentators. The division goes through these teams for the tag division. I mean, both teams were fired up. They were dressed for war, proud and powerful. The fans were split. I mean, the fans know it. We all know it. Fans chanting FTR, some fans chanting proud and powerful. These are two teams that we love, that we want to see badly, and they showed up, and this was the match that we were robbed of, unfortunately, last month. The chop battle between Santana and Dax was absolutely brutal. I always got to mention a good chop, but this was pure wrestle. You had to be just like beaming ear to ear crayfish, because this was a match we've been wanting and a feud that we've been very excited about for a long, long time. And I think this match delivered it. Depending on the situation and how things unfolded, leading up to this, the last match they had. But whatever it may be, we can we can end on this match and be happy with the performance from both teams.
Well, I think it's easy to say that we can end on this match. I don't know if FTR want to go out on this note.
No way. They don't want to.
Right. I'll be honest with you guys, though.
Uncle Dax.
Sitting back and watching you talk, you just mentioned it, Uncle Dax, man. This Bonds, you talked about it, you highlighted it a little bit in your response. That arm injury to Cash played a role throughout this match. You could tell, there were moments when his clotheslines and forearms weren't hitting quite as much. And quite honestly, the most apparent part of that was that just workhorse Dax felt like he was in this match, 85 to 90% of this match.
He was carrying the load.
It was absolutely incredible. We talk about it week after week after week. Every time we get the chance to see Dax, for a bald guy with a beard like me, Dax is a guy who I look up to and say, like, that dude gets through it by sheer will. He's a student of the game, as JR talks about, very intelligent guy. And you could tell there was a need for him to kind of maybe pull his teammate across the finish line on this one. And he fought his butt off tonight.
Did he ever?
A lot of props to Dax and what he was able to do in this match. SPD, I know you're a big moves guy. I sat back and watched the tandem offense, the way that these guys worked poetically off of each other. Cash swinging in to cut the hot tags off. He's always so good at that. Santana catching after the big rig. That breakup of that finish was absolutely incredible. I stepped back, and this is a match where truly two of the best in the world went at each other. A lot of pride on the line, and you could tell the product, in-ring product, it worked because of that. These were two teams that, injury aside, weren't going to allow anything really to get in the way of them putting on a show for the fans. And it was an incredible way to get, I think, PNP that much more over. Really a great showing tonight.
And you mentioned a key word right there, best in the world. And right after that, we saw the best in the world. We heard from him. The fans, of course, were hot being back in Chicago. And I am excited that we're not going to have to wait till Sunday. We're going to see CM Punk live in person. We're going to hear that, "Look in my eyes, what do you see?" We're going to hear it, be rocking out to that all of Friday night. The best in the world will be there on Rampage. But he came out and, to obviously a hot crowd, and he made it real for us, saying he hasn't wrestled in 7 years, and just kind of, throwing a little doubt out there, kind of humanizing himself, which was good. And then, of course, we have to have a taste ruin things.
Yeah,
so,
I was waiting for you
clearly,
to chime in on that.
We have, one of the hottest heel teams that are really trying to put a damper on a lot of parties. 2.0 Daniel Garcia, man. They're giving us a little taste. What do you think of that?
They're good at what they do, Bonds.
They're
good at what they do.
But I'm not, I don't, as good as they are, and as much as I'm starting to like them, I don't think they're, as of now, deserving for a CM Punk stage.
Well, man, I think that's the point. Let's be fair. Like,
they're getting the pop. Yeah.
They getting.
Hear me out though.
They're getting the cheap beat downs on Punk.
It's true. They're good jobber heels for like Darby, Sting, and CM Punk.
They're gonna run through them. But
I think I think you will like this prediction. If CM Punk and Darby obviously have an awesome match, and then they do, it seems like we're going to see a 3-on-3 down the line.
Yep, for sure.
But the tag team that I'd be more intrigued to see would be CM Punk and Darby versus the Men of the Year.
Oh yeah, and
so
that plays on past history. That's a great one, obviously.
But go on, what do you guys think of that segment?
Seems like Ethan Page and Scorpio have their eyes set on the Murder Hawk, which, hey, I don't know if that's the smartest thing in the world, but
count me out.
But Bonds, what do you think, man? To me,
Yeah.
CM Punk's promo was fantastic. We got to hear later on a response
From Darby
from 2.0. I thought that was like Daniel Garcia and 2.0 had a great little promo where they, and we got to see them try to deliver on that promo later on in the night, right? I mean, this was a great way of, to me, on a show that's jam-packed, this was one of the overarching stories of the episode. You got to see it weave throughout the show, right?
There was a couple stories that happened like that tonight, which is, I loved that, especially leading up to a pay-per-view. People that aren't watching every week or watching every show, I feel like they kind of know what's going on heading into the pay-per-view for the most part. There's obviously some storylines that got a little bit more than the others, but this one was, along with the Jericho and MJF one, the story they focused on the most. And CM Punk's promo again, I mean, the dude is always fire on the mic, but CM Punk decided, like, hey man, I'm going to go out there, kind of reinforce what I said last week about Darby Allin being who I liked, who I would have liked when I was 15. Darby Allin afterwards in a vignette said the same thing about CM Punk. When I was 15, you were my favorite wrestler. And then
I liked his promo. It was really good.
Oh, it was great. It was a great response too. And especially because, I think Darby really shines in his vignettes more so than his live promos. That's just where he shines. He can show more of his creative side. I like that. So I like that the response wasn't in the ring as much as it was later in the show. And then obviously, involving 2.0 and Daniel Garcia, like, these guys are over. The boos are echoing from Chicago. They're hilarious. And the fact that, they're trying to involve themselves in this main event, like they're trying to put themselves over in this event, which is great. I love that they're trying to steal the show. And then these guys that just showed up on TV a couple weeks ago, and they're just like, no, man, like, I don't care. Like, we're going to ruin your guys' moment. I don't give a crap. It's funny. And I like that aspect of it. I was waiting for something to happen because of them, like with Darby recently.
Sure.
I was waiting for that kind of like, okay, like, are they going to get involved at some point? And it was a good time to do it. There's only so many times, and I talked about this with Sting when he debuted, where there's only so many times you can have somebody come out and, say, hey, it's great to be here, before something happens. And I'm glad that they only happened for about 2 weeks with Punk, and they're already starting to get him in the ring. I like that.
And I think, too, it's important to note, SPD, I know that you Darby might be a heel in the house of SPD, but for the rest of the world, the crowd is going to be split between Darby and Punk. And
you think?
And you could see that, right? The crowd is chanting for CM Punk when they have that face-to-face, but I can tell if you're there, you love Darby, and most fans in AEW love themselves some Darby Allin, and you almost feel like, oh man, I can't be cheering for the guy who's going to beat this guy up. I love this guy. And so inserting these complete dirtbag and young guys who kind of came out of nowhere and who feel a little entitled and who are going to like try to immediately take those cheap shots and rob the fans of the match they want to see. It's a perfect way to like have the story progress with more than just promos.
Yeah.
And allow us to see the go to sleep for the first time. And I mean, like,
because you don't want him to do that on Darby Allin, you know what I mean, before the match.
Exactly. It's a great way to allow Punk to show that he can still go. Build a mutual respect between Punk and Darby, which is really what this feud is about, right? This match is about Punk kind of hand-picking Darby, and I love Darby's response that I should have been the last pick. I really thought that was a smart execution in response by Darby. But, Punk going on his way to say, like, this is the guy that I think is the coolest dude in the business that I want to come back and fight. It's hard to boo one of those two guys in this scenario. So inserting these guys immediately gets that cheap heat, keeps the program flowing, and it gives them something to work off of afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I think that who's gonna not want to see the Stinger, CM Punk, and Darby on one side of the ring, just beating up these guys, giving them a taste of their own medicine, SPD. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that, right?
It'll be a good transition match for sure. After we get through this, obviously, awesome pay-per-view match and CM Punk's return. So it'll protect some guys, and then hopefully we'll get some kind of new feuds form. it depends on what CM Punk has all the control he wants, whether he wants to do a few tag matches, but I think it would be fun to have him do that tag or trios match, then move on from there as well. But next segment, we're going to talk about MJF and Chris Jericho. We had this awesome segment from MJF. I mean, when is he not good in any segment? I mean, he's just delivers so well. And I love Tony, how he's like, we'll say it as it is, whether it be with the DMD, whether it be with, he's obviously very vocal with MJF, very vocal about Don Callis, very vocal about the heels. And he didn't hold back. He's saying the most despicable human he's ever been around. And if for those of you who caught it, MJF and I have a kind of a common denominator there, that Jericho's on both of our Mount Rushmores. And so I liked how he brought that one up for sure. But and also doing that cross comparison with Muhammad Ali. I mean, the way he can just, deliver his promos and deliver like those comparisons like that and bring in the history and all that. Smart. I mean, he's very smart. I mean, we got to give him props where props are due. We can appreciate it. But he is very, very smart heel and very, very smart delivery. And I've never seen him once flub up. And this was home run.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. He went out there and eviscerated Chris Jericho in a lot of ways. He said a lot of really interesting stuff that was true as well. Like, hey, man, you're already the GOAT, but I'm going to go out there and take your spot. He's already 3-0 against him. You retire Chris Jericho, that makes you a legend. And he knows that, man. And he understands, like, hey, he understands the stakes, and he's trying to get him in there. You know what I mean? Because this segment, there was a lot of back and forth segments between Jericho and MJF tonight, which is cool. I thought it was stories. It's one of those stories, and I think this one was given just as much respect as the Punk and Allen one. I think Jericho's response later in the night to MJF was amazing. You could hear his voice, how emotional he was getting when he was talking about how much he appreciates the fans and for letting him live his dream. And so it's just a really cool, there's a really cool like back and forth between these guys where Jericho is already that legend. And we all see it with MJF. We understand, the talent that this guy has, at least in terms of getting us riled up as fans. And he can just like, he's a wordsmith. There's guys there's not very many people like him.
Fans try to attack him.
Yeah. Fans literally jump the barricade to try to attack him.
And other fans will pay $500 for an insult.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. So exactly. So we know what this guy is, man. And like, that's why it's so interesting, because it could go so many different ways. And that's why the selling of this, like Jericho was basically in tears saying like, oh man, like, thanks for letting a kid live out his dream kind of thing to the fans. It felt like a send off, but it's like when it feels like it's going to go a certain way in AEW, it doesn't.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, oh man, they could really extend this, and Jericho can still go. That's the difference, man. If he wasn't able to go, if his matches were still like weren't as good as they are, then I would be like, man, I'm ready for it, but I'm not ready for it. Even though I predicted it, I'm not ready for Chris Jericho to be done. I don't want that.
Thank you, Bonds.
Personally, I love Chris Jericho. He's one of my favorites. He's not my Mount Rushmore, but he's right there, and right. He's right up there for me. And I've been one of my favorites since I was a kid. So I'm
curious of how you guys are going to book this. When our preview show that we're going to have Saturday night, I'm curious of how you guys, this is the most intrigued. I'm curious of how you guys, you feel about this,
Out on the line.
A lot is on the line.
And Jericho, I mean, his response,
especially you, Bonds.
Yeah. I mean, his response was, it got me when he was saying like, I don't want it to be done.
No,
I don't want it to be over.
You felt for him big time.
Yeah, you did. And to me, MJF, I'm team heel for life, baby. MJF's promo work. It's like watching one of a phenomenal Hollywood actor. The way that yes, you guys absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. The man is intelligent. He's a wordsmith. He's creative, and he knows how to craft a promo that will pay homage and respect to his opponent while also ripping them apart. A beautiful talent, right? But even on a different level, just from watching how this man knows where the camera is going to be.
It's delivery.
Just his overall,
so smooth.
His overall delivery, his poise, the way that he he's in full command of every segment that he's in. And SPD, that's why you said it. It never feels like this kid flubs. It never feels like a segment with MJF. It never feels like a segment with MJF is going to go off the rails ever. And tonight was an example. He had a sit-down interview, obviously, but there were some camera cuts and different angles, and you watch this man know exactly where he needs to be looking at every single time. He's absolutely just a perfect entertainer, and it's no wonder why he's gotten recognized outside of the wrestling business
New York
for
Times,
being
right?
as talented as he is. I know it's painful to say this guy. We would love to sit here and just say this guy's the drizzling shits, but he's not. He is every bit as good as he says he is, and it's a tough pill to swallow to think that this is the guy that could end the legacy of Jericho. The closer I get to it, the more I don't want to see it to happen, because I was okay with that. I was really okay with it.
Yeah.
But the closer we get, because I wanted to see you cry it all out. I wanted to see those tears.
There'll be different tears shed at different times.
I have a feeling that I have a feeling that Jericho's gonna get this. He's gonna pull it out, man. I'm really excited to see it. And maybe I'm wrong, because I had a feeling that maybe my guy Jack Evans could have pulled it out tonight against Orange Cassidy. It's never a good sign when you don't get an entrance and then you get pinned in the picture-in-picture break. I don't know if TK was trying to send your boy Crayfish a message or not.
Clearly, it was raining on your parade today.
Not good. TK pulling the rug out from underneath me. I don't get to see Pac now at the pay-per-view, and now Jack Evans really not the best overall performance from Dirtbag Jack. He did not look to be the Jack Evans that I've grown used to, a guy that I've kind of been trumpeting some support for. I think Dirtbag Jack Evans at his best can be an incredible high flyer and a really funny and engaging dirtbag heel. But this match, it clearly was just a placeholder for us to see Matt Hardy get involved, right, guys? I mean,
Yeah.
And I love how they're doing that. They're playing into Hardy's broken nose, and obviously that was not meant to be, but they're stretching it out even farther. And what we saw after the match, I was texting you guys the stretch out. I was like, okay, we don't have a buy-in now, and so what could you do? Put guys that will give you pops. Obviously Dark Order's not on there, but you put it Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, one of the top baby faces, and Jurassic Express. I mean, that is going to start the show huge with HFO.
Absolutely.
And I think it fits so perfectly. And I mean, we've said it before, Private Party and Best Friends, Private Party and Jurassic Express, those guys will put on some great matches too. So these four teams intertwined, if you start throwing some matches throughout, adding obviously TH2 is going to be some fun. I hate to even say the mid-card tag team because I don't like using those words.
It's fair to say. I mean,
sub-feuds at tag team. But, I agree with you about the Rob and the entrance. But, I've noticed how on Rampage is doing that. It's kind of starting, only giving us one entrance. They're trimming it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I get it. But, it's something we love. But
yeah, it's part of getting you hyped up for the match. I think this one really never got off the ground for me personally. Jack Evans was a little bit hot early, and then it kind of became a comeback, and then it was over during the commercial. And I was like, okay, well, the match itself was just a template for the story afterwards. Obviously, setting up the big match that we're going to see on Sunday, where we're going to get to see, all these teams going up against HFO, which it's about time, right? I mean, these guys are controlling half the locker room. So it's about time somebody teams up and decides, okay, enough, Matt Hardy. You gotta calm down. We gotta delete your group a little bit.
I like it.
I do too. I think it's a good setup. I think it'll be a fun match. I'm glad we're going to be there live to see it. Definitely. Cause that's going to be a slobber knocker, as good old JR likes to say. Those guys are going to go back and forth. So I wonder if Matt Hardy's going to wear his broken mask over his nose.
I can't say enough about Matt Hardy right now, man.
Oh, he's great.
I'm thoroughly impressed by what this guy you could tell, man. This guy just loves the business. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
He loves
He couldn't.
the
He wouldn't
business.
be happy doing anything else.
This is his
Yeah.
dream. This is his life. Like he loves wrestling. He's loved it since he was a kid, and he's living out his dream even to this day. And for him to power through that broken nose last week, and I think Orange Cassidy versus
broken
Matt Hardy,
face.
broken face, man. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy, like that's kind of a cool, like fun kind of character vibe to it. Both guys are, Matt Hardy's
They're
an
both
absolute
unique.
pro, both unique characters. And it gives us an opportunity, like you said, Bonds. We get a chance to see Private Party get a little shine on the pay-per-view. Get to see our Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I know SPD is a happy guy over there. These are talents that are home, they feel like AEW talents, and for like Matt Hardy to kind of lead a group of guys that are all kind of a hodgepodge of AEW talents versus, I think, a team that's really easy to get behind in and their opponents over there with the Best Friends and Jurassic Express.
The two biggest babyface teams.
Exactly. Yeah. Two of the most babyface, natural,
Yeah.
organic babyface teams in all of AEW. Just absolutely over with the crowd. This one's going to be an opportunity to get the fans just happy and get to see.
This will come on after Jericho retires.
There you go.
No.
Make SPD happy again.
Oh man.
There's two things that could soften the blow. Would be obviously a Daniel Bryan debut and a Lucha Brothers win.
Woo!
That would soften the blow, but it would definitely still. It's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound for me.
Which one is more likely to happen, you think, at All Out? Or do you think both are going to happen and you're going to be the happiest boy in all of Chicago?
Jericho doesn't retire. Daniel Bryan debuts.
Wow.
Hangman comes in and brings a horse and it kicks Kenny in the face. And Lucha Bros win gold.
SPD, you would be the happiest boy in all of Chicago. I can only imagine.
Then Thunder Rosa wins the Battle Royal.
How cool would it be if Hangman Page came in with Big E's briefcase? He just comes in with the Money in the Bank briefcase without any explanation and just catches it on Kenny. There you go. Rewrite television that minute. It'd be great. I mean, I will say this about that tag match. I think if there is a title change, it's going to be the tag belts.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely like where
the most vulnerable ones.
And we'll get into that more later tonight. But we're going to transition into a match that, guys. Again, when you watch Dark and Elevation, you're seeing Team Taz. Obviously, Taz likes to talk a lot of smack on commentary, but Team Taz is really like this is what we saw tonight is just constant with these guys. They said. Team Taz always has a plan. Their plan is just to be a bunch of scumbags and do sneak attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time. Brian Cage, the Machine. I know that Bonds, you were having a hard time with the way this one was starting to get built between Cage and Starks.
Yeah,
I think that involving Hobbs and Hook and getting Team Taz to play the numbers game against Brian Cage was a real smart move in the right direction because, again, I tried to explain. You see the visual of Starks and Cage in the ring together, and it's going to be hard to feel sympathy for Cage as the babyface. But all of a sudden, you throw him up against Powerhouse Hobbs, and you start having Hook get involved in cheating in matches, and then Starks gets to run his mouth off. Using the numbers game and basically surrounding the Machine with his former friends and allies that have turned on him is a real smart move to try to catapult Brian Cage back into the trajectory that we think that he should be going in.
And I felt like it worked tonight. You heard the pop for Brian Cage. It
Glad
felt
to hear you say it.
Oh, it worked much better than it has on any Dynamite in recent weeks. This was a big step in the right direction. I think involving Hobbs, like you said, brilliant because these guys are equals in terms of size, strength, ability. And then getting Hook involved just makes it edge out away from Brian Cage, which is great. The crowd was hot for him tonight. His moveset was a little bit more babyface. Personally, it looked like it to me. He didn't do as much of the bragging stuff that he usually does in the match.
Yep.
It was nice to see that. It felt like natural that it was happening. And then, they went even further by having Ricky Starks get involved and cheap shot Cage during the match. So it's, they're building it's a slow burn, but I'm glad that it's finally going in the right direction to where the fans are starting to get invested. And I'm, as a Team Taz fan who loved where they were going weeks ago, and it kind of just died on us. Like, I'm glad that it's going in a direction where it's okay. Like, the crowd's back into it. It's not a dead crowd during these like random segments where they're just interrupting each other and coming out and doing nothing. Like, this is actually a match.
Yes, getting the physicality into this feud has helped a lot.
Necessary.
And it's no one. Powerhouse Hobbs was one of my like kind of shocker picks in our draft. Like I know that like I kind of picked him early, and some folks were kind of shocked, but I feel like Hobbs is one of those guys that when I look at it, dude, going toe-to-toe with Brian Cage tonight, the crowd was hot for this one. This one felt like a fight, fellas. Like, I know that the match
Hoss versus Hoss, for sure.
PNP versus FTR had a lot of people thinking, man, the emotions were hot. That was a fight. But, dude, watching Hobbs and Cage go at each other, those boys were laying into each other tonight. I thought that this one was a great example of really – pushing the youth in Powerhouse Hobbs, setting him up to look like $1 million, going against somebody like Brian Cage, really showcasing what a powerhouse he really is, right? Really enjoyed the way this one played out. And I think that what we've seen, again, Team Taz getting involved in kind of utilizing more than just having Ricky Starks as on the mic, really utilizing all the players in that group has made this feud have so much more legs to it, I feel like.
Definitely. I agree. And I think eventually we got to have, Cage being as big as he is, have a little bit of help in some form, to even the odds. A 3-on-1 it's if anyone could do it, Cage probably can, because who better? Right. The strength of him, and we've talked about it, is truly unreal. That second rope suplex, that is a lot of strain on the lower back and your hamstrings, especially to pick up a hoss like Hobbs, who has 5 straight wins, and all of them are less than a minute, as the announcer said. So some pretty impressive stuff on that. This was starting to me become a dud, and now I think this is starting to get a little bit more steam and more heat. And I just hope that they push the throttle on this, and we can see more of this versus like having weeks or over a month hiatus between matches or anything with the feud. But this was an unexpected segment. We're going to shift gears into one of our favorites, QT Marshall. Yeah, QT Marshall came out with. I loved how he had some reinforcements from the factory, some beasts to say the least. Some guys that looked pretty jacked, that were over 6 feet and over 200 pounds, if you know what I mean. That could go.
You're going to be on NXT before you know it.
But then the biggest twist and turn of the whole thing was the Gun Club. The Gun Club hitting Paul White with a chair.
Who saw
and
that
ultimately,
coming?
No, who
saw that coming? That was
not me, because I was hoping that we would see Gun Club and Paul White kind of team up versus the Factory. That would be a nice sub feud after this match at All Out. Now, Paul White's corner is empty. And so, do you have QT Marshall stealing a victory from Paul White?
You want to jump into this, Crayfish? I know QT's your guy.
Oh, man, dude, I was shocked to see that happen. The twist, and
so QT, was he. Look on his face.
Set it up again. He's so good. He's so good at emoting. This guy is fantastic. He doesn't get the love that he deserves, man. But your boy Crayfish loves himself some QT Marshall, and again. This segment played out perfectly in the sense that you got to showcase Paul White and him being able to overcome basically the numbers game that QT he just sent everybody after him. Paul White looked like strong, threw them all off, was fighting off 5 guys, and then the Gun Club to turn on him. We all know that Paul White's the guy who's known for making all sorts of heel and face turns over the course of his career. For him to be the victim of a heel turn, pretty wild stuff. Honestly, with all we've seen out of the Gun Club, how they are on social media and all those things, it's shocking. It's a genuinely shocking moment to see them turn on Paul White
I know.
and beat him down. I mean, those chair shots were that was vicious.
It really was.
I don't even know where they're going with this one. It's interesting because QT didn't like. He was like, "Oh, he sold
like
that. He had no idea what was going on,
exactly.
man." And I was like, "Okay, this is really interesting." We've heard like a lot of rumblings about the Gun Club in their status with AEW like in the last couple of months. So it's like now they're getting a cool storyline. I'm interested. I'm like, okay, like these guys could do some stuff. And I love how commentary is like, "Oh, and it's Billy Gunn's scumbag kids," and I'm just like, "Oh,
yeah."
man.
All of a sudden they
like,
turned so fast.
Yeah, they're an evil scumbag
makes sense,
kids,
though, right? I mean, they're talking about it in the chat, but like it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Gun Club, you could see like Colton and Austin, their record. I mean, we all know the record for Colton Gunn has been notorious. How this boy has been able to somehow be undefeated. Just like it's just an impressive moment to be able to be shocked by something like that. And here's the thing, guys, is like this is one of the things I love about QT. This guy is the epicenter of creating more character feuds, more character motivations for all these characters that aren't the CM Punks and the Darby Allins and the MJFs. QT is serving as sort of the core and the platform in which now we've seen Nick Camarado, Anthony Agogo, Aaron Solo, Lee Johnson, you start Fuego, and now you're seeing the Gun Club get a spark thanks to QT Marshall.
Thank you, QT.
Everybody needs to thank QT Marshall.
Thank you.
Continuing to bring out the best in the AEW locker room. Absolutely awesome to see it, man. Again, and now you get to see, now everyone's questioning what's going to happen with the Gun Club. Whereas 2 weeks ago, who was asking about that, right? Ooh. It's just an immediate moment where QT injected some fire and some like interest in more characters that are
share the wealth,
lesser known, right? It's fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, man. Then you're gonna love the next segment because we're shifting gears into the women's division. First and foremost, let's talk about the match at hand. Then we'll dive into what the DMD had to say, her big announcement, and some of the shenanigans that we saw leading up to the women's battle royal. But Penelope Ford and Tay Conti went head to head after Malachi Black head to head on Dynamite tonight, and it was a well fought match between them both, and I like the storyline. And this is what I was really harping on last week was that I want more sub feuds within the women's division. We need them to stretch it out. So I was, predicting Anna Jay coming back with Tay and teaming up versus Penelope and Bunny. So you have, having a tag team match and developing more of a tag team. And then ultimately, if you add like the Iconics or other people, you can start to include more in the division via tag team. And so the surprise debut or re-debut of Anna Jay at the end of this match was really well. That doesn't, still doesn't overshadow what the in-ring work that we saw, which still getting robbed of the picture-in-picture as always. But I really like this pairing as well, just like we saw the pairing with Penelope and Thunder. Yeah,
you called for the Bunny and Superbad, this tandem to continue to be something. And watching this pairing, I mean, what did you think about the overall presentation of Superbad and the Bunny and really where this feud is going? SPD, you called it last week. You felt like this was a natural, if Anna Jay could come back, that this was such a natural way for this story to go. Having Anna Jay and Ty Conti reunite and go toe-to-toe with Penelope Ford and the Bunny.
Right.
Some of, again, the need for fleshing out the women's division, this is a huge step in the right direction to giving more storylines, giving more opportunities for fans to get invested in the women's division. Bonds, what were your thoughts on this match tonight? I know you're the guy always taking notes on the match itself. What were your thoughts on Ty Conti versus Penelope, in the actual toe-to-toe?
Yeah.
I know that Ty Conti's in-ring style is always a lot of fun to watch. What were your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was a great pairing, frankly. These two are super talented. They're like part of the future of this division.
Love to hear it.
I think that Ford has really impressed me since she's gotten out of that Miro storyline. I think that she's been on fire the last couple of months since she's been back on TV doing stuff. And obviously Ty is one of the most talented in-ring performers that we have in AEW. Yeah. So I think that pairing Ford with the Bunny was really cool. The optically looked like they should have been tag team partners long time ago.
Yeah.
It just made it works. It makes sense. Like there's some people where it's like you just pair them up and it makes sense and it fits, especially it worked out in the match tonight too, where we got to see, okay, the involvement they just got together as a team. And Bunny interfering backfired on Ford tonight, which is kind of it was interesting. It was a good play on that. Like, okay, usually when there's interference in AEW, it turns out to be that team ends up winning, and we're all like, oh man, too much interference on the internet. We know how it goes, but tonight it backfired, and it was kind of cool because I'm sure, knowing how this company runs itself, we're going to see them grow as a team. And so that's going to be something I want to put in my back pocket and say, like, okay, in a month, they're still together, which I hope they are because they work really well together. Are they performing better? Are they doing tandem stuff better? Are they working better? Because now that Anna Jay's back, like you guys were talking about, now that Anna Jay's back, we're going to see some tag matches between these two teams. Like this is going to happen.
Right.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, it's a wasted opportunity. But we're going to see that happen, and maybe they'll really get the win back. Or they're just going to have a stage set for Anna Jay and Ty Conti to kind of move up. And again, we're seeing the women's division get fleshed out because HFO is involved in this storyline too, and the Dark Order. So, and that's been like a long, big storyline for all of these people.
Great point.
And I think that we're going to see a lot of stuff go back and forth between this. We could see other matches. Not just the Bunny and Penelope Ford. We could see more matches with HFO against Ty Conti and Anna Jay as well. It's just something for thought. I think it'd be really fun to watch those matches.
Preston Vance and Anna Jay intergender match versus Blade and Bunny.
I would love
that.
That would be awesome.
Right.
Book it.
That'd be awesome.
Right.
Booking by SPD.
Absolutely. Regardless, I think we all can agree. It's nice to see exactly what we were calling for earlier on, guys, when we were talking about the need. Last week, we talked about this in depth, the need to have more of these sub feuds. It can't all be about the DMD. As much as Crayfish has been pushing that she is the face of this division.
Well, that won't change, and that is a fact.
And we all can agree that the DMD is capable of carrying this division, but especially with the talent around her now with Jamie
and her
Hayter,
most recent announcement.
I mean, this is incredible to see, like getting an extension. We all know that Tony Khan sees what we see. Britt is the top of the mountain.
She better be getting that Pat Mahomes money, man.
No doubt.
Throwing Benjamins.
You're right. Give Britt Baker that Pat Mahomes money because she is worth every bit of it. That said, right. This was a great way to build that, and we got to see another segment in the women's division, really building towards what I was talking to you guys about last week. I know I kind of caught you guys off guard with the Thunder Rosa versus Jade Cargill stuff because there really haven't been a lot of hints towards that. But man, oh man, we got a hint tonight at that with Thunder kind of talking about the importance of the women's battle royal, and then quickly being surrounded by Nyla and Jade and Vicky. Thunder, to her credit, the Thunder Rosa that we all know and love, she wasn't just going to take a beating lying down. She went right after those two. Boy, was that awesome to see that fired up spirit in Thunder Rosa come through. Really love where this was going, guys. And again, it plants a lot of seeds. Jade and Nyla work out in the battle royal. What will happen there?
They even had a thing during that segment as well. That was really interesting.
Right.
We've talked about how Nyla is the gatekeeper in the women's division. So if really we were going to see that Jade push, man, that's
transition. Maybe Jade becomes, like the transition there where Jade gets through the Nyla is validated as a top heavyweight in this division. Again, I said it. Jade versus Thunder is a feud that I would book. And I think if TK is playing it right, smart guy, the long story there is, Thunder has this lion heart in her. And Jade as that powerhouse really sets the tone, man. Jade and Thunder, that is something that would be a great visual. And it would bring out the best in the young stud, diamond in the rough that we like to say of Jade. I think that there's a lot to like there.
I agree. And I still think I liked how Sterling was like, save this for the money, since they're all, trying to stay on character with it. And I thought it was really well done with that part. But it is intriguing. This is just another one of those things that we just talked about. The fact that Thunder's being involved with these two creates a whole nother branch off the tree. And I think regardless of who wins this battle royal, it's a win-win. And that, as we've seen in other companies, when you have battle royals, you get feuds that stem out of it.
Yep.
Whether it be temporary or long term.
True.
And I think that's what you need is you're throwing all these people in a Yahtzee cup, throwing them out and see which matches you get. And you need it to develop a strength in a stronger division. So this is going to be a win-win for everyone in the division as well.
Yeah, man, I feel it for sure. I hope we get a couple feuds out of the match on Sunday. Yeah. I really do. I hope that we get a couple down the line here, even dark or stuff that's not on TV.
I can't wait to hear what your guys' pick to win that one is, because
speaking of that, bingo cards are coming. Now I'm glad I didn't make those out, because we will publish our bingo cards for All Out Saturday morning, because we don't know. The things still could change at Rampage. So I knocked it with my foot. We will release our bingo cards, and we will have a Dynamite download prize pack as well for that. So stay tuned for our Twitter to make your selections on it as well. Gents, you ready? Main event time?
Let's talk about the main event of the evening, folks.
And I just am still always so stunned at Rey Fenix, man. I am the biggest Rey Fenix mark for sure. Just the stuff he does, it's just wow, 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 wow. This was, a good way to send us home. Obviously, the fans were not happy, and so you're just crushing everyone's hopes, leaving the event pissed off or mad, for us to leave hopefully on a high note at All Out. But overall, as Bond said, we saw 3 great tag teams, and then the Good Brothers performing in this match. But standouts.
I did say that.
You did.
Not my words, spoken by Bond's words. But Rey Fenix and Luchasaurus once again having an outstanding match. The strength he was, ragdoll and gallows essentially at sometimes that he was performing, the high spots that he was doing. It's fun to see the tandem work again with Jurassic Express. So often we're seeing Jungle Jack run solo, which he deserves and can definitely hand on his own, but the tandem stuff, that's what really got them in AEW. So it's fun to have that, and we're going to see more of it, obviously, at All Out. But a lot going on in this match. Not as crowd is so hot for Lucha Brothers, and I think it's time, baby. Cero Mero.
Yeah, I'm all for that, man. I agree. There was a lot going on. There was almost too much going on in this match, but it was right on that cusp of being too much to where it was perfect.
Yep.
Walk that line like Rey Fenix walks the rope.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was a tightrope, just like Rey Fenix does all the time. The match itself, great. Luchasaurus, like you said, my star of the match was fantastic. He's been on fire lately. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to see it.
My eyes are bugging out of my head, brother. You've been heaping praise on Luchasaurus recently.
Hey, he's been great. I like when the big guy goes in there and can do a moon. Yeah, when the big guy goes in there and does a moonsault and throws around his weight like he owns it. Instead of just going in there for 30 seconds of offense, he's actually going in there and dominating guys, and I love that. When you have a big guy like him who's that athletic and that able to just throw people around, and who can do a standing moonsault in the ring, and he's 6'10", like you got to utilize that guy. You know what I mean?
Dude.
It's super impressive, and so this match itself was awesome. I loved at the end when we saw the post match with Brandon Cutler as my hero. I love Brandon Cutler. He was so what happened for anybody who didn't watch. Oh, it was hilarious. They dropped the cage down on everybody after the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers won. And then Brandon Cutler, anytime anybody tried to climb the cage, was spraying them in the face with cold spray. And it was maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen him do. And I feel like every week I'm saying the thing he did was the funniest thing he's ever done. And
him on Rampage he was the star of Rampage last week with his shenanigans in the ring, zipping his coat back up, the dancing and stuff. Like that guy is at the top of his game right now in Stooge land.
Phenomenal Stooge. But I mean, I know that the humor was great. But the lasting visual for me end of it was, dude, those super kicks. That
sound
that Nick was just throwing super kick after super kick after super kick after super kick. I was just like, damn, man, like it was getting brutal. Like it was like, all right, enough. Like Kenny himself had to kind of be like, all right, and like, I mean, I will say this: heading into All Out, there are signs that like. Are there going to be chinks in the armor of the Elite? And you wonder what's going to happen. And I think we've all been predicting the fall of the Elite. And every time we do, we're always they always come out on top. And then we get to a point where it's like, who can beat these guys? Like seriously. This was a great story though, and because it was a reminder of the cage and what a role it's going to play at the pay-per-view.
I liked how they brought it down. That
was very smart. They're not going to have those numbers games. They're not going to have that kind of advantage at the pay-per-view when that cage is the separator between them. The Lucha Bros are going to be able to have them in the cage, man to man. That's going to be like where all the antics bonds every single column. It feels like you talking about the antics of the Elite
and what they're doing that week. Antics.
I think this is gonna be a game changer at the pay-per-view. And I think that the match itself, yes, there will probably be some hints at shenanigans, but I think this is gonna be a really nice way to allow that talent to shine. SPD, the Bucks and the Lucha Bros.
Yeah.
I know we got to see tonight FTR versus PNP, and that's kind of like my kind of jam. Like that's my style. But when you see the Lucha Bros and the Bucks, it's a totally different style of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But in the steel cage, I think that is a match at All Out. When I look at this card, that's the type of match right there that could potentially steal the entire show.
Agree.
I think that's a real special moment to be able to see that kind of talent in the cage. I want to see those two go at it without a lot of outside noise for once. That's really my hope, to allow these teams to just go at each other and be creative and have a blast with it. But I want them to get the proper stage.
Yeah, they will. And I think there still might be, like you said, some shenanigans here and there. Maybe they hide some cold spray in the cage or whatever. But all in all, I think the attempted shenanigans, the cage is going to prohibit them, and then that will cost them the victory as well. That being said, our All Out preview show is going to be Saturday night. Since that's the only night that we don't have anything going on while we're in Chicago. We are on our way to Chicago tomorrow. We cannot wait. Tomorrow evening, we'll get there nice and late.
Road trip.
Road trip for sure. But before we sign off on that, who was I didn't make a graphic, but who is your top performer of the night, Crayfish?
Bonds, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, my top performer was Chris Jericho, like Champion. I loved his promo tonight. It was one of my favorite promos he's had during this feud with MJF, and that's saying a lot because they're always really good. His emotion was, you could feel it when he was talking, and that's a sign of an awesome performance. And and there were some great matches. I hate giving it to a promo, but I just emotionally, as somebody who's been watching Chris Jericho for over 20 years as a wrestling fan, like this was a big one for him, and
sure.
I appreciate it. What about you, SPD? What was your performer of the night?
I mean, It was Santana for a while, but like I said, I'm a huge Ray Phoenix mark, and he's been my top performer the most out of any time in our DD history. Just the stuff literally leaves me speechless, and I can't wait for him to get more time to shine it all out. And so Ray Phoenix is my top performer.
He's a special talent, dude. Great picks by both of you guys. You guys are going to probably boo me out of the building.
Oh gosh,
I can't do it. I'm both teams from the beginning of the match, from the beginning of the show. FTR and Santana Ortiz, they deserve it. That match,
their collective performance.
Their collective performance.
There you go.
That match was
yes,
absolutely
of course. Match of the night.
To me. That was my match of the night. I loved both sides. I thought Uncle Dax really showed why he is the workhorseman of the Pinnacle. Cash was able to play through an injury and use that psychology to have a role in the match. And I don't need to go on about Santana Ortiz. What we've seen Santana do over the course of this year, and the way those two work off of each other, the tandem wrestling that was on display tonight between those two teams, doesn't get much better than that for pro wrestling for me. Just watching those two teams go at it, it was a joy to watch.
And it's going to be a joy to watch live on Friday and Sunday all out. So thank you everyone for joining us for Dynamite Download episode 45 in the books. We will have some special things all throughout the weekend. So definitely follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're going to be posting a lot of stuff on the Instagram stories because it's quick, easy to post. So follow us on there as well. We're going to do some Instagram live while we're at some of these events as well. First things first is we will be at FanFest on Friday. So FanFest Friday morning, tailgating Friday afternoon, all the way up to Rampage. So thank you everyone for joining us. And like we always say, buckle up.